Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamac.com today.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we are going to have some deep talks and discussions about relationships. Now, the chapter that I wrote in my book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into any situation, this entire chapter talks about relationships and shift or get off the pot. Many times in a relationship, there comes a time where you do have to decide that it is time to go. So this is a little bit more about relationship, about reuniting, and also about deciding when it is time to either reunite or go your separate ways. Take a listen. All right, and now we are going on to part 2 on our talk about relationships. Shift or get off the pot. Take a listen. Lying in the hospital bed was her rock bottom moment. But that's not to say her situation couldn't get any harder. The circle of people they most related to as a family did not support Angela and her children through the divorce because they came from a very traditional religious background where divorce is not considered an option. Her children were cut off from one set of grandparents. Angela lost friends from her place of worship. People she worked with were pissed off at her. Staying was costing Angela her health. She made her choice and stepped into it. But at what cost? Should I stay or should I go? We'll look at how Angela continued walking through and out of her rock bottom moment later in this chapter. For now, though, let's focus on the fact that she found herself in a situation familiar to many women, deciding whether to stay in a relationship or leave. For this chapter, we're looking at a breakup as a rock bottom, but it's not the only way a relationship can end or be redefined. There is a spectrum along which every relationship falls, and the true rock bottom moment comes when you have to decide whether you've outgrown a marriage or if you're going to recommit to it. Sometimes, as with the death of a spouse, that choice is taken away from you. If the sudden change in your relationship is a death, you can refer to Chapter 2, which is about grief. That shift is outside of your control, and you'll want to approach it from a different perspective. Other times, as with abusive situations, the choice may be obvious, but very difficult to make. We'll discuss abuse in greater depth in the next chapter. Whatever state your relationship is in, you can own your role in it, which allows you to take back your power and own your happiness as well. So the first step is to ask yourself, can we make it work? If you really want to make it work and both parties are all in for that, then that's the goal. That's great. Of course, there are relationships that are never going to be healed, and not moving on from those just prolongs the pain of ripping off that Band-Aid. At a certain point, you're hurting everybody. You all realize it's not working out. The kids know, everybody knows. It's like being in hell. If you're stuck half in and half out of a relationship, you won't be able to pull out of your rock bottom moment. You may be so focused on the possible end of your relationship that you're not showing up at work as much, or you're not able to be present with your children. It's really important to get to a place where you're taking your power back. There are beautiful ways to help heal a relationship, but if it isn't going to work, know that ending the relationship isn't going to take your happiness away. The most loving, effective way possible to move on, whether that's to repair the relationship or make as clean a break as possible, is to own your part of the responsibility and go forward. There are two people here. No matter what has happened in the past, it's not your fault nor the other party's fault 100%. Both parties are responsible for some part of how you got to this point. Taking responsibility for your part empowers you to choose what your relationship is going to look like in the future. When you're able to pull from the relationship all the gifts that empower you to make different choices, whether it's good memories or knowing that you're not settling, you can be thankful for the life lessons you've learned. You know that you are not a victim. You are powerful. Once you make a choice and take that decisive action, you are honoring yourself. In this chapter, we'll look at making the choice to walk away from a relationship as well as what it looks like if you choose to reconnect. Growing apart. At some point, you may realize that you and your partner have grown apart and reconnection isn't just going to happen by magic. You may have gone to a therapist, sought religious counseling, or seen a life coach, but nothing changes and agreements continue to be broken. There's a point where you agree that if it doesn't work, you need to honor what you've had and move on. You can make a conscious choice not to keep trying to reconnect. I got married young to the boyfriend I told you about in the introduction, the father of my son and all my children. We got married for the wrong reasons, with a lot of pressure from relatives. We couldn't agree on anything other than how we raised our kids. That was our one aligning factor, but we had nothing else in common. So we fought about our different visions, values, and directions for our lives. It was a constant struggle. I stayed in a relationship desperately attempting to do the right thing. Yet we are both so incredibly different and we had little in common. We mostly did whatever he liked doing for fun, and I set aside all my passions. It was a huge expense on my soul. No one was happy because we had different ideas of what our life was supposed to look like, and the children felt this as well. It wasn't that there was no love, it was just that we weren't compatible in our life purposes. Ultimately, the best decision was for us not to be in that marriage anymore because it wasn't working for either of us. Once our children were grown, we agreed to go on our own separate paths. Before you make that final decision, it may be a good idea to have a 90-day period where you just put in one more shot, if that's what you want and both people agree. During that time, you and your significant other date each other again, and you can use that time to really try to renew your love for that person. Here are some ideas for things to try during those 90 days. Feel free to customize them to fit your situation. Spend time doing things together as a couple. Take your lover out for a movie or favorite dining experience. Dress up the way you used to when you first dated and create fun, spontaneous things to do like you both used to really enjoy. Find a babysitter or puppy sitter and take a mini vacation away together. Create a romantic bedroom at home if travel is not in the budget. Dim the lights, dress up in something sexy or nothing at all. Give your mate a hot oil massage and get as loud and passionate as you did when you were young lovers. Write love notes or send romantic or steamy text messages to your loved one. Have an adult ditch day. Take an afternoon off from work while the kids are at school and invite your spouse to do the same. Time for adult play. Don't discuss the issues of the disagreements during this time. Just focus on the love as much as possible. Then, if things still don't change, you've set the date and now you're honoring your own agreements to yourself. Each person has a responsibility to themselves to honor their own standards and needs. You're going to have to set that boundary, and at a certain point, you're going to have to follow through on the decision you've made. If you decide to leave, you can't keep threatening your spouse, hoping they'll change. Nope, this is it. You've had the talk, and you're done. It's been however many years, plus 90 days, and it's hurting both of you, so you agree to stop. You gave it one last try, and now you can move forward in a loving way to move apart because you're not aligned anymore. Infidelity. But what happens when that period of growing apart leads to one or both partners choosing to be unfaithful? The stability of a marriage or relationship is often threatened by outside situations. You don't have enough time together because you need to care for your sick mom or your kids going through adolescent angst and needs your support. There's a season in life and in relationships where those interruptions are going to be your normal. Unfortunately, that season is when people may seek connection with someone outside the marriage and have an affair, emotionally or physically. Affairs tend to happen slowly and gradually, and it's not because two people don't love each other. It's not always intentional or done out of hatred. Those people want a certain level of connection in a relationship, and when that connection is disrupted, even for a reason that makes perfect sense when you look at it objectively, they may look for it elsewhere. Infidelity is gut-wrenching and painful. When you are in a committed relationship and the other person cheats, you may feel like it's a judgment against you or a blow to your confidence. Am I not pretty or handsome enough? Did I not do enough? Having an emotional connection with somebody outside of the relationship may not be cheating in the traditional definition of infidelity, but it feels the same to the person who finds out about the affair. In fact, physical affairs often mean less than emotional ones. Learning about your partner's infidelity comes as a shock because you probably thought you were happy. Even if the other person doesn't decide to leave, finding out that your partner had an affair can shake up your relationship and your whole life. When faced with infidelity, you have to make the personal choice of whether to stay or to leave. Some people can get back together, work it out, and start fresh, and they do great. Others may decide not to take the chance of going through this rock bottom again. You cannot change another human being. You can't control them. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. That person chose to dishonor your commitment, and that's on their integrity. You may not even be able to control whether they stay or go, but there are two people in this relationship, and you can control yourself and what you do next. Self-love is really important, as is honoring yourself and not jumping into the victim role. You can decide who you want to have in your life and what happens if someone crosses the line that you set. You have to know what that no-deal point is for you. It's an individual decision. There's no judgment about where you choose to draw that line. Your body will tell you. Your emotions will tell you. You may feel resentful or hurt, and something will feel very off to you. When this first happens, you may not be able to put your finger on it. It just doesn't feel like the relationship is aligned. You may get a feeling in the pit of your stomach or an ache for no reason. Even more important is that you realize that you are empowered to know where that line is and that the door is open. You're not locked in a cage. You have the freedom to walk away. If you can't feel the same with this person as you did earlier in the relationship, when you were happy, you'll know that it's not going to work. You may still love them, but you have to love yourself enough to know that you can't forgive their behavior, and you don't have to be a part of it. It's not worth staying in a relationship that doesn't work just to have somebody in your life. You deserve to be in a relationship with honesty and integrity. Surround yourself with people who are aligned with your values. Take responsibility for and control your life, and you'll take back your power. Set them free, and you set yourself free too. There's a beautiful ceremony you can do when you are finally disconnected from a relationship that didn't work. You can send love and release them. Write a letter that says everything you feel and then burn it or send it off in a balloon. That allows you to set free that whole relationship and send gratitude for the lesson. Now you know what you don't want in your life. You honor and love the good parts you did see in your former partner. Obviously, to have a relationship, you had to see something at some point that was a light, good part. Then you release them, and you release yourself at the same time. When you do that, it frees you up and gives you the space to have people who are a better fit for you show up in your life. You're not still stuck in that old story. You've set it free, given it love, and let it go. If there's a better fit who's more aligned with who you are and your values and your vision for life, those people will show up. Then you don't get stuck on the old story of why that person was bad. You take responsibility and release them. Whether or not they gave you closure, you took your own and you gave it to them in return. Then you can move on in peace, whether you're going through a breakup or divorce or temporary disconnect in a relationship. Reigniting your love. What happens when you choose to stay instead of go? Perhaps you've been so focused on working and parenting for so long that you've just fallen into those roles and neglected your roles as partners. Then, when you retire or your kids move out or another shift occurs, all of a sudden, you're living with a stranger. You have to figure out how to reconnect with this person at the level of a partner, not as a parent or somebody else working to support the household. You can work together as a team again. You can rebuild your connection and give yourselves permission to be a young, married couple again, even if you're older. Recommitment contract. From what I've seen in my own relationships and seeing the ups and downs my friends and clients have gone through, you have your relationship and then you have outside factors, which are important to identify. Maybe you have to go to holiday dinners with your in-laws who belittle you. Maybe you have financial issues that are causing stress. Once you've had children, in particular, life feels different. You have to do chores and help with homework. You have to pay for their expenses and discipline them when something goes wrong. You may be working more hours away from your family, even though it's all done out of love. This isn't a completely misaligned relationship. The passionate times are just diminishing because you're busy doing something that may be important for the survival of the family. You can't change some of those factors, but some of them you can. How can you change what you can? How are you going to respond differently so it doesn't affect your couple unit or your family unit so that it's not going to be a problem anymore? That has nothing to do with your love, and as a couple, you can own that and decide what you can do proactively to make adjustments. Think about writing a recommitment contract. Part of your contract may include how many date nights per week you want, or how you're going to celebrate holidays. You may strategize what you'll do if something happens. If the kids need something, or your mom gets sick, or your boss makes you work long hours on a deadline. You have a pre-planned understanding of how to continue honoring each other in those situations. You'll also find an activity at the end of this chapter that walks you through how to create a relationship agreement. You're going to have fun, reunite, and do crazy, wild things like we all did when we were younger. Who the hell cares? You're not worried about other people's opinions. You're just going to do whatever romantic things you did when you were in your 20s or 30s so you can rekindle that relationship. Maybe you want to go on a second honeymoon. You may decide to renew your vows, especially if you want to change your commitments or re-acknowledge what you're honoring in each other. If there was infidelity, you may want to start over, dating again, and then make a new commitment, contract, or vow with one another. You don't have to make it formal or invite people to a party. You can just say it to one another in your backyard or on a trip. You can have a beautiful moment where you recommit to a fresh start, to moving forward, and to your wonderful new relationship. If there's an ability to have open conversations and to connect back and see that it's not really about loving each other, it's about all this outside stuff, you can work around that and still have that time to continue in this beautiful relationship that you both want to maintain. Communication. As we all know, men and women are different. That difference is really clear in how women and men communicate. Men are direct. They often say what they mean and mean what they say. Rarely is there a hidden meaning. If they say, I'm going to be late, it's because they're going to be late, not because they want to make a point or don't love you. When they talk to each other, they say things like, hey buddy, you gained 30 pounds. What are you going to do about it? That doesn't mean you're ugly. That's just how they talk. Women won't say that, even if it's true, because in general, we tend to be more emotional. We don't like to point out our flaws. You want to have an awareness of the difference in how women and men communicate so you can learn the other person's language and learn how to be direct. You may choose to have a word to use if you start to go back to the old patterns established before you recommitted to this relationship. If you start to fight over the toilet paper roll or something stupid like that, what crazy code word can you use? Something completely silly that will break the moment and remind you of your real love. When you're playful and laughing, you're not going to go to that negative place. When it's something more serious, you may need to communicate beyond that one word. Maybe you have to say, when you were late and I had made dinner, but you didn't call, I felt neglected. Or, hey, I'm drowning over here. I need to talk about this as soon as possible. From a woman's standpoint, having an agreed-upon word or direct statement is going to reach home to a man a lot more than deciding to show him, because he may never see it. It may go over his head. He wants to know what you need so he can provide it. Use your love languages. I have 5 boys and 1 daughter, so I've learned how to communicate with the boys, and that's really blessed me for other relationships. I realize I just need to be direct. I highly recommend the book The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman to learn about the other person's love language. This book says that each person expresses love and responds best through using one of 5 ways of communicating, or what they call our love languages. Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. All 6 of my children have completely different love languages. My youngest son's is physical touch. He's always been a hugger. When I text him, I say, I'm sending you a big hug. He'll text back, I caught it, I'm sending one back. My daughter is not a hugger. Her love language is quality time. She'll come over for slumber parties where we stay up talking until the sun rises the next day. It's good to know your significant other's temperament and the love language that aligns with that. We all have different languages, so try to talk and text in the love language that means the most to your partner, because then they feel loved. If it's gifts, then get something small or inexpensive. Maybe they love to do sports and it's a priority for them to work out often. That doesn't mean they're taking time away from you. That's just who they are. They're not going to change. That's a beautiful part of them. But when you understand it, you can work around it. Encourage your partner to speak your language too. If you need alone time or a break to go get a manicure, ask for it. That's the biggest gift for someone who needs quiet time. And by asking for it, your partner isn't wondering, why doesn't she want to talk to me? Once you both understand your temperaments and advanced needs, you can be successful in your relationship while still being true to who each of you are. Applying the Boots formula to relationships. You can use the Boots formula to help you move into whatever choice you've made for your relationship. Being. Who are you being? Who are you showing up as at work and all the other places you go, versus who do you show up as with the other person in this relationship? Is how you're showing up with that person aligned with how you feel about him? There are two people in a relationship. You may have grown apart. Whatever the reason, that doesn't matter as much as owning your personal responsibility. If you have children, it's important to note that you are their relationship example. You're modeling how to deal with a relationship breaking up, even a divorce, how to grieve, or how to rekindle a relationship. Later on, that will empower your children or other loved ones, like younger brothers and sisters, to deal with a similar situation should they find themselves faced with one. It's not so much what you say and teach, it's what you actually do that will help empower the other people in your life to get through their own crisis in the future. You want your child to watch you and think, oh, so that's how I deal with that if it ever happens in my life. The way my mom dealt with it. That's the way I'm going to do it because she owned it. She took care of it and she did her best. So that's what I'm going to do too. Orientation. Your orientation is that it's not better than it is. It's not worse. It is where it is. But you have to put yourself in there. You're honoring yourself and your promise to now move out of this relationship or stay in it and make it stronger. But you need to be responsible for the role you played in it. Who were you being? If you're able to answer that question honestly, you're not beating yourself up. You're gaining awareness that maybe you've changed. Maybe the other person has. And they have different values, or they're just not a healthy person for you to be around now. It's still your responsibility to assess whatever you contributed to that so that you're able to move forward as a really solid, whole person. Unless you take that personal responsibility, your emotions or circumstances are going to control how you choose to show up every day. Then who's in control of your life? But the minute you own it, then guess what? Now you're in charge. Order of operations. The decision you make about where to take your relationship will determine your order of operations. What do you need to do if you stay? What needs to happen for you to go? Either way, how can you live the best life with the person with whom you have the most important relationship? Yourself. Doing this work now will allow you to re-attract your current partner or attract a new relationship later if that's right for you. Most people don't want to jump right into the next relationship the day after they get divorced. But when you're ready, open, and aligned with that possibility, you're not going to repeat your patterns and end up with the same person as your previous partner, just in a different body, doing that same dance. This self-analysis step allows you to make that shift, even if your partner absolutely won't change. Thinking. Time goes by quickly, and if your relationship ends, you may think those 5 or 10 years were ruined. But blaming the other person or the situation makes you the victim. It takes away your power. You can choose to be in control and not let that affect you. You get better outcomes just from that choice. When you're in control, you can choose to show up differently. You can walk away. You can get to choose how to react. Stepping up. Whatever choice you make, you have to step up into that decision. You are going to get pushback from other people who want you to live on their terms, whether it's a religion, family, or friends. That's a huge part of whatever decision you make. You may redesign your relationship in a way that's different or non-traditional. Even if you're staying, it may be a very different look, and that's okay. From relationship rock bottom to moment of empowerment. Angela's moment of empowerment came when she decided to walk through the door and get a divorce, even though that was exactly what she had fought so hard not to do. She took her power back by realizing she was not a victim. Even when she made the announcement in the hospital and people stopped visiting, she had to be really strong. First, she had to recover. Then she had to get an attorney and figure out all the steps that people, particularly couples with children, have to go through to dissolve their legal union. The blessing for them is that they love their kids, even though their concepts of how to raise them and show their love are very different. That love is real. Angela and her now ex-husband were able to come to a fair agreement because they put their children's needs ahead of their own. That was a beautiful thing, and it was helpful for Angela as she moved through this life shift. She asked, "Who am I going to be through this?" Angela was healing, recovering, and having to face a lot of rejection. But she was also being a strong mom in the face of challenges. She knew it would be a lonely tunnel, but she also knew that she didn't have any other option other than to go through it. Next, she had to ask, where am I? Damn, I'm in the hospital, losing money, and I'm probably going to have to file for unemployment, if not bankruptcy. Then she asked, what do I do first, second, and third? She had to understand what steps to take. She had to get legal advice, working with somebody to help her get through the divorce itself. Going against the grain can feel very lonely, so we found some people outside the situation for her to connect with for support. Angela had to reorganize her finances because there's a cost that comes with being willing to step away from some of the comfort, even though it ultimately wasn't comfortable to live in that kind of situation. She had to understand that, and then she had to go on COBRA health insurance because she wasn't able to work. Once she got back on her feet, Angela had to go get her own place. She didn't feel like she was physically capable of living in her old house, so they sold it and she got her own space. The fourth step was to ask, how can I create a better life for myself and my children? Angela had to create a vision of what she wanted her life to look like. Finally, Angela completed the Boots formula by stepping up into her vision for her new life. She's now gone into a different field, one where she can express her art, and she teaches part-time at a small private school that has an art program. Angela is so much happier because she just needed to be herself. Her kids are happier too. They don't have to deal with the pressure in a house filled with conflict. They can just be with their mom and see who she really is. Their dad gives them structure, and they love him too. There's something really beautiful about getting to know and appreciate all parts of yourself. Ultimately, Angela had to be strong enough to realize what she wants for herself and her children, and then model it. She wants them to be strong people with boundaries that need to be aligned with who they are. She wants them to be able to have a happy relationship someday, and she doesn't want them to give themselves up or pretend to be somebody they're not. Angela's children can see the talents they have and are empowered to express themselves. Reboot activity. Sample relationship agreement. This is a sample relationship agreement that you and your significant other can use to reboot your relationship. Please feel free to edit this agreement to fit the specific terms you want in your unique relationship. If you wish to have a non-traditional or open relationship, express those terms so that you are both on the same page. No two couples are the same. Tailoring this agreement to suit you will require sitting down for an open review and rewrite to make it all yours. This is a love agreement between blank and blank. For as long as we align in life and love, I promise to share openly in both my happiness and hardships. I agree to be authentic and honest, even when it would be easier not to be. I will be present for you and listen to you before answering, even if I must meditate on the answer for a day. I will always get back to you with my heartfelt, true response. I promise to learn your love language and honor both your need to be held and your need to be free. I will continue to share about my triggers. I will honor yours, and together we will agree upon code words when a trigger shows up. Then we can stay congruent and work through our past triggers together in love and freedom. I will always keep my heart open to you and share my vulnerable truths. I will be here until the time that you and I no longer align or move to a different plane. If for some reason our values and lifestyle desires no longer fit, I promise to keep our secret time and memories just ours. I can love you close or from afar and want to support who you truly are. I promise to assume you have only the best intentions, and instead of jumping to conclusions, I will always ask and be open with you. I will show up for all the date days, nights, and weekends you wish for. I understand that in our life there will be seasons where we may need to focus on other things. I promise to be there and enjoy you even if we stay home, roll up our sleeves, and get through a rough spot. I found you and love your individual and unique true essence. Therefore, I will always support you in your full life expression of hobbies, studies, and career passions. I will always be open to discussion about our intimacy and happy to enjoy time experimenting and discovering with you. I will check in with you when you are pushing me away. If you are hurting over other life issues, I will give you love and connection as well as breathing space when you need it. I am wildly and beautifully imperfect and have the most perfect love for you. I thank you for loving me for all my parts, faults, flaws, and all, just as I love you. I will love you in form and in freedom. That being said, I will honor your individuality and self-expression as well as our time together. Both are necessary and incredible parts of our relationship. I promise we will be humans in this and may have our fights or disagreements. Let's talk them through and agree to get further input from an agreed-upon therapist, interventionist, or relationship coach if the time is ever needed. Also, I agree to incredible makeup sex for occasional disputes. I will do my very best to keep you safe, loved, and above all, honored. I will never threaten to leave this sacred agreement. We may agree to disagree or together edit, review, add to, or delete portions of this agreement as the seasons of our life and love progress. Above all else, I promise to love you, to learn with you, and to live passionately, enjoying each magic moment with you. Signed, your name and your partner's name. I also like a book titled Conscious Uncoupling by Catherine Woodward Thomas for couples who are not able to make it, especially if they have children. It helps you see how you can own your part of the relationship not working out without letting it upset the rest of your life. For other resources for relationships, I have a resource section in this book, and the most current updates can be found on my website. My goal is to make sure that as you heal on your terms, you can connect to as many resources as possible. My gift to you. Is self-doubt stopping you from your best relationship ever? Go from self-doubt to self-love so that you are able to give and receive love freely. Anything worth having or keeping requires some work and strategy. It is important to not give up when your self-doubt shows up. One of the most important things you can bring to your current or new relationship is your best self. That means putting in the self-work. How would you like to get 3 times the results twice as fast? For my readers, I am making a special offer. Take the best relationship quiz and receive the top 20 ways to improve or embark on the best relationship with yourself and your loved one. Go to www.sheilamac.com/bestrelationship. If you're just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and we have been talking about love, relationships, and shift or get off the pot. I will be continuing this discussion tomorrow, and I have a little bit more to share, so take a listen. These are some vignettes of how to apply the boot or the Boots formula to a relationship that needs a reboot. Take a listen.
Necessitated. You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you. Out of the fog. If you weren't emotionally bound up in your situation, you would have more clarity. You would be able to see your best options for dealing with whatever comes up. If the version of yourself who has already walked through this rock bottom and come out the other end could go back in time and give you, the you right now, some advice, what would she say? Would she tell you to slow down, to stop rushing, that you don't have to have all the answers today? Would the future you recommend not making any major decisions without reviewing them first, particularly while you're still in the fog? Would she tell you that normal is going to look different for a while, but that you will feel normal again? In case we haven't invented time travel by the time you read this book, I'm here to tell you all of the above. I developed the Boots formula to help you learn to make choices, have a life shift, and make great things happen based on your individual values and best life vision. A change is going to happen, and it's worth it. There's a stage where it feels like everyone in your life is picking at you. Life itself may seem like it's trying its best to stop you from doing whatever you want to do. All you hear is, "That's a stupid idea," and "That's never going to work," and "Who do you think you are?" One of the hardest things for people to do is to realign and possibly walk away from anything and anyone that conflicts with their value systems. But you are going to discover that power within yourself. Through the activities and examples in this book, you will discover your true north and will be able to easily do what is needed to move forward with your life. Anything that hurts you, that doesn't resonate for you, that fights against what you want and believe in, you are going to give it the boot. Once you have turned your rock bottom moment into a positive, beautiful life shift, you can live your life on your terms. Your life will probably look different, but you get to design it this time. You are taking your life back, and you are in charge, not anybody else. Sooner than you can imagine, you'll be in the career of your dreams or the relationship you always wanted. Because you are going to learn to develop healthy boundaries. Because you are going to do things differently along the way from here to there. You will begin to attract the people, the job, the place to live, all of the opportunities that align with who you are, your essence, your truth, not anybody else's or even society's expectations of the way you're supposed to be. Once you have accepted that you are in charge of living your life and you begin to embody living your truth, people are going to see you. They're going to be inspired by you. Then you're going to hear, "Hey, can you show me how you did that? I want to do it too." When you assess your peer group and up-level according to your life purpose and vision, and once you have created a life shift for yourself, whatever that looks like, your life is not just full, it's fulfilled. Not only do you get more and better sleep, you wake up feeling rested and happy. You know that you're doing what you need to do. Yes, sometimes your heart will call you to leave certain friends or family members in order to find a more aligned peer group. From what I've seen, however, the ones who leave always return to lead their family and friends to success. Because your friends are more in alignment with your beliefs and value system, they support you while also pushing you toward your personal best. Life still involves work, but as a whole, it feels far more effortless. But you don't have to wait for the right person, right job, or right investment opportunity to show up. You can start living now so that every moment as you go forward through the process of recovering from rock bottom and redesigning your life is one more step to being the best version of you, the one who came.
All right, if you are looking to reinvent life on your terms, if you are grieving, experiencing financial turmoil, career shifts, relationship problems, parenting, elder care, victims of abuse, breaking free from an addiction, or seeking an overall business and lifestyle redesign, then you may need a reboot. It is not
fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and we're going to have a short discussion on why is it so hard to leave an abusive or difficult relationship. This is a good one. Take a listen.
Why is it hard to leave an abusive relationship? Dear Sheila, I recently returned again to my very abusive husband. He's verbally abusive, controlling, and now has started to beat me. I feel like I married someone who has two different personalities. I admit I raced into this marriage because we had a child together and my family and friends convinced me to marry. The truth is my husband shows up as the nice guy to my family and friends, then at home he's a monster. I'm terrified he may hurt our daughter. I am now tired of hiding the bruises and playing this risky game. My question is, why is it so hard to leave an abusive relationship, and how can I safely break these ties and move on? Signed, Boomerang Wife. Dear Boomerang Wife, this is definitely the time for rebooting and reinventing your family life. Whenever things get to the point of violence and abuse, it is time to take massive action. Let's run this situation through the Boots formula. Throughout life, one can find themselves facing a difficult situation that often catches them by surprise. Over the years, I saw the patterns in all the times I've had to reboot, and in how I've helped my friends and clients get through a hard time and quickly back into action. Ultimately, I came up with the Boots formula. The B in Boots is for being. It is about who you are being and all you are doing and who you need to be during this situation. You are going to have to be really honest and prioritize safety for you and your daughter. This is going to require being strong and asking for help because you truly need it. Who must you be now to make these necessary life shifts? Being honest about the real situation at home is going to make all the difference. The first O in the Boots formula is for orientation. In order to get the outcomes you desire, you must be brutally honest here. How much abuse are you and your daughter facing each day? When did this relationship go from love to fear? What type of outcomes and options do you really desire? Do you wish to divorce or require your spouse to get treatment for this violent behavior? The next O in the Boots formula is for order of operations. Now that you know who you need to be and your orientation, you can decide in which order you must do things. Although we all wish a spouse or other person would show up differently, sometimes it is us who must do the changes. In the long run, the order in which you do things is going to really drive your results. The T in the Boots formula is for thinking. This is where your mindset comes in. Stop waiting for your husband to change and start the hard yet necessary actions toward a happier life. Choose to live in a grateful and happy state now and in each step in the process. Be proud of yourself for your strength and surround yourself with a community of other strong moms who want to help. Your daughter will feel this energy and learn how to set boundaries by your actions. The S in the Boots formula is for stepping up. This is the part that puts all the other pieces you have planned into place and gets you and your home life back into action. The time is now for us to collectively work together to rebuild. My hope is that this video series and my new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, helps. In my book and on my website, I provide plenty of free resources along with an incredible support community for anyone dealing with a rock-bottom situation to reinvent and reboot their business and personal life.
I have a free contest talent search going on. I am looking for some real reboot stories from real people just like you. If your story is chosen, you will win a guest interview on the show, broadcasting on my syndicated CNBC, NBC News radio channel, KCAA Radio, streaming on kcaaradio.com. It has a coverage area of 5 million people and is the #1 news talk radio FM. So, what is your reboot story? When in your life have you started over, had a life situationship that brought you through tough times and on to the greatest gifts? I look forward to hearing from you. You can DM me your story. You can also send your story in through the comments here on this page. Hope to see you soon. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I have a couple of announcements. First, I would like to hear from you. That's right. I would love to hear from you, to be honest. I want to know what your breakthrough is, what your reboot is. How are you reinventing and rebooting your life? What shows would you like to hear more of? What information do you need to help you get back on track this year? And to do that, the best way to connect with me is actually through my new YouTube channel, and that is Sheila Mack Show on YouTube. And there you can see past recordings, and you can also see other information and shares that I have. And I would love for you to share in the comments there what you're needing more of and what you're rebooting this year and how we can help you get back on track. And I am asking you to support my show. And if you would like to join the Patreon, you may contribute, or you may also join in our weekly talks. These are live talks, conversations with me and the group. This is a new Patreon forming, and I have one for each chapter topic and reboot. So if you're looking to reboot your relationships or other areas of your business or personal life, a good place to start is patreon.com/reboots. And also for more free resources, go to sheilamac.com. All right, stay tuned. And our next show will be on tomorrow. Looking forward to share the second half of the relationship reboot with you.
Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
Grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible
as well as on Amazon and Kindle, and at www.sheilamac.com.